Hello and welcome to When Will It End? It's a movie podcast where me and my dear friend Charles Hobby, we watch the movies in order. And that's important. I don't know if we've talked about that enough. If we were to do a franchise review series chronologically jumbled, I think this would be a very difficult job.
I mean, we talked about it.
We did, yeah. The first pass, it was like, what if we watch a franchise entirely out of order? It was as bad as it is now to talk about this now. It was worse originally.
Yeah,
this is slightly better.
This is a little better, mostly because we're not in the same room.
Yeah, the shame, the reek of the stench of shame is harder to detect over a video screen.
Yeah, I don't even remember whose idea it was. It's gone.
Let's go with yours. It's yours. It's probably your idea.
I mean, probably.
So you're no Tej. Here's a look behind the curtain. Charles is bad at setting up for the podcast.
I'm not.
I am more like Tej.
You're more like Tej.
I would give the children ATM money.
So far, you've said you're Dom and Tej, and I get to be, just Paul Walker, who's dead.
No, I'm also Roman. I'm Roman, Tej, Dom.
What the fuck?
Also, I'm a little Hobbs because I'm kind of daddy. You're more.
So what? I'm Han. Do I get to be Han?
You're Han aspirant. I don't think you're Han yet. I think you want to be Han. But here's the thing with Han. Wanting to be Han is not very Han.
Dude, I feel like we talked about this once before. You're putting me in a corner where I have to act very un-Charles because I'm being told I'm not Charles. And I get defensive.
To quote one of the best movies of the last decade, this is how I win.
What's that from?
A little movie called
Star Wars?
Gems Uncut. Almost. It's let me see. What parallel? There's no movie that comes close in the Star Wars canon to Uncut Gems because they're not.
No.
None of them are driven enough by anxiety. Everyone's pretty they're troubled, but they're not truly pure anxious, which is a very unique experience.
If you had to walk down this path, I mean, Rogue One is the closest you're gonna get.
Yeah, they're pretty anxious in that.
Yeah, sweaty, anxious.
We're talking, of course, we're watching the movies, the Fast and the Furious movies. If you've followed this wild ride with us, oof, your neck is probably sore from all the gasps and the looks of astonishment you've exchanged with your loved ones.
Wait, what do you do with your neck when you gasp? Oh, I see. A quick
sort of. I'm jerking it back.
Sure. So, similar to getting rear-ended, get whiplash from all that gasping.
Well, this movie was so. Of course, we're on Fast 6. We're at a point in this series where it's kind of like. It's like when you've been doing cocaine all night and someone's like, do you want to do more cocaine? And you're like, yeah, why not? I'm not going to be as high, but I just got to keep it going.
Right.
I'm not even going to feel that good doing this extra line, but we've already done all the other lines. So what's one more line?
Did you like that I just agreed with you, but I've never done cocaine?
Yeah, looking at you, in your computer eyes right now, I was pretty impressed. You really committed to that that was an experience that you've had.
I mean, I've never had that experience, but I mean, especially if you're comparing it to an experience I just went through and talking to other cokeheads, I can piece it together.
Other cokeheads? Jesus, who are you rolling with? And I'm not a cokehead. Dear God, tone it down.
You don't want to know who I'm rolling with. Dude, I moved to fucking Medford. We're in the middle of a COVID. I don't have many choices, okay?
You're right. All right, fair enough. I understand all of our backs are collectively against the same existential wall, and we're all making moves right now.
We're all making friends. New friends.
So we just watched Fast 6 or Furious 6 or Fast and Furious 6.
Yes, thank you. Because the titling I learned got even weirder. Because when we watch the movie, the title is Furious 6. It comes up on screen, Furious 6, the number 6. And yet everything else says this movie is called Fast and Furious 6.
Yeah, the science is wild. I don't even know if they're part of me, are they going with the one marketing guy who they just every time, no matter what, they're look, I know it's unorthodox, but Jeff is our guy. Just, we got to stick with it. It's been working. Or alternately, they kept bouncing around to different firms who are look, Fast 6, that's for idiots. Furious 6, that's for genius alpha galaxy brains. And they're okay, it's got to be Furious 6. Then that person gets fired and they're no. Fast and Furious 6. Don't fuck with the formula.
Or it's I was watching Chernobyl, watched that miniseries, and maybe it's just the people weren't told. So this whole marketing division went to work making all the posters and everything, being told it was called Fast and Furious 6, when the one guy shows up and he's fuck, it's actually called Furious 6, but the guy that's commanding him, it's a long series of command, I think.
I wonder if in the Chernobyl sequel, Too Chair, Too Noble, they'll be like, Jared Harris, you're never going to believe it. Same thing's happening this time in Rio. And then he just goes and just tries to reveal the truth about a failed government cover-up. And you get the idea.
Yeah, he's sad. He smokes a lot.
Yeah, smoking's pretty cool. Hey, I'm happy you mentioned Jared Harris and smoking. I did a little extracurricular this week, if you catch my drift.
What'd you do? Did you guys have a little smoke break with Jared Harris?
Oh, I wish. Over 2 nights, over 2 stone nights, I finished a rewatch of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which is a dumb, but it's not a good movie, but it's hard to... I have mixed feelings about this movie. I think it's actually quite dumb, but it's very fun to watch.
Yeah, I didn't... That's the one with Gary Oldman, right?
It's Gary Oldman playing a very quiet man named Smiley.
He's very quiet. So I grew up... My dad was obsessed with spy shit from the 80s. I don't really know why.
From the 80s?
Like what? No, maybe like Cold War movies about the Cold War made during the Cold War with like the Ipcress File and shit like that. That was 60s. But
the Ipcress File is 65. I was just talking about it last night because I was talking about anti-Bond movies.
Yeah.
Of which Tinker Tailor is.
So no,
adamantly...
maybe when was Alec Guinness a big boy? When was he king of the silver screen?
I mean, the 50s and 60s.
Okay, I'm wrong.
Kind Hearts and Coronets.
I said the wrong era. I'm going to edit this all out.
Yeah, you're a fucking chode. That's what you are. Say it.
I'm a chode.
Wow. That's the saddest thing that's happened this April.
It's going to get worse. My dad was obsessed with 50s and 60s spy shit.
Yeah.
And so we grew up watching the I think it was Alec Guinness played Smiley. Maybe somebody else did, but I'm pretty sure it was Alec Guinness. And I was told that was the one that was good. So when I went to see the new one, the new movie, I was like, Dad's not going to be happy with me if I like this.
Well, it's like the tone is really good, but I think the writing and the acting is surprisingly bad at times. Like there's the scene where, again, I've been watching these movies at like 1 o'clock in the morning after eating like an edible that I have not tested. So it's not necessarily the best environment to like watch a movie, but like I'm watching this and it gets to the scene where Mark Strong's character, who's like the spy who we think is dead, but he's actually alive. And he's like as a school teacher now. And like this little dorky kid with glasses comes over and he goes, I bet you don't like the other kids. They don't like you. They pick on you, but you're a watcher. You watch. Can you watch for me? I'm like, is he grooming him for sex? Like this is vibing like that. Like whatever tone they were trying to hit, it comes off very groomy in a bad way.
It was 79. So you know what? Cut me a little slack. I'm a big chode.
Interesting. So to you, that's an improvement on just chode.
Yeah, a big chode. I mean, the thing about chodes is that they're terribly small. So at least mine's
you're like a little tuna can over there.
Yeah. Mine's a little extra girthy and got that length where it just matters enough. I was 79, so close to 80.
So close.
Like a chode.
That's it? That whole diversion was just to prove that you weren't that wrong and you're a better chode?
Yeah, I'm the best chode.
Wow.
I'm the close.
What is the best chode? We should research that for the next episode.
How do you research something like that?
Hey, listeners, do you have a chode? Do you have a friend with a chode? A loved one? A lover? We want to know.
One thing I got to say, I'm going to shit on our listeners right now. Okay?
Oh, please. Yeah. So both of you, sit down for a minute.
Sit the fuck down. We ask for your, to get in touch sometimes. God. We ask for you to email us.
Don't beg, Charles. Jesus, this is low.
Hey, I'm a chode. I can get low.
Well, you start low, you finish low.
Yeah. Just fucking respond. Even if you don't have a chode at this
Charles.
point, just say you do. Send us a fucking email. Jesus.
This is just to reflect this back on you. You're now begging our listener to send in the fake chode story because you're so desperate for engagement. You're now soliciting a fake chode story.
Dude, this
is a low point.
Those cokeheads don't want to hang out with me anymore.
It's true. Your nails are white. You painted your nails.
Yeah, you can see that from here. Wow. Nice.
I sure can. We're on camera together, Charles. It's part of the experience.
Well, all I can see from you is your half your head.
What do you mean? I'm looking at the little box in the corner.
Small. You're very far away from your camera. You're making fun of me. Fucking Tej would never do that. Tej would be beautiful, big.
We know nothing about Tej. We'll get back to this later. But it occurred to me in this movie how little we know about Tej. Everyone else has we know Tej has a garage, used to have more flamboyant hair.
Yes.
And now is a tech wizard, and that's it. He likes cars, makes fun of Roman's forehead.
Twice.
Okay, but just quickly.
Yeah, well
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Mm-hmm.
so we just watched a 2 hour long movie, and this is another fast movie where no piss break, and I wanted to.
So you wanted to, in that you felt the need to piss, or you didn't feel the need to piss, but you were bored and wanted an excuse to get up?
Well, okay, I had drank a lot of water. I'm trying to stay hydrated. You know, the pandemic. You know, got to stay hydrated.
Yeah.
You know, got to keep the fluids moving.
I do like that the pandemic's here and everyone's like, I guess now we could take care of ourselves.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Get ripped at home, drink more water.
I ordered a fleshlight. We're doing the things that we should have done years ago.
Yeah.
And now we're finally catching up to ourselves. Maybe, and just hear me out on this, maybe the disease is modern life. Wow. And the cure is a pandemic that mows down the most vulnerable among us who have the least representation in Hollywood, the sport arena, or DC. Maybe we're all going to learn a little lesson by letting thousands and thousands march into the charnel house.
Let's put it out to our listeners. What do you think?
Hey, listener, you still with us? 2 things.
Write these questions down.
1, chode experiences. 2, what is the value of sacrificing the least protected in our ranks for no reason whatsoever?
Well, I just want to be serious for a second.
Uh-oh.
I am very proud of you, Josh. We are all cowering at home, and I am resting on my that's not the term to use. I am doing nothing. I'm getting paid to do nothing right now, and yet you are doing way more work than usual, and it's important work. And it's very it's an honor to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm basically like 1,000 doctors, if doctors were funny and cool. Yeah, it's funny that like I'm working overtime and I'm face deep in the shit trough of the news world. Well, you are a classic welfare prince sitting pretty on the dole. Just the fleshlight I bought, I earned working in the field. Okay,
yeah,
you're probably rolling in various devices.
My God, you should look at this.
That the government did they just like walk it to your house for you? Did they unwrap the box for you so they can watch you come in it just to make it even easier? Did they help you? Did they help you masturbate?
Yes, that's exactly right. They come in. I have a whole fucking drawer. Like when I open up my drawer to bedside table, some people, I don't know, what do you keep in a bedside drawer?
For me, random paperwork and my passport and like 2 bowls.
Yeah, I got fucking butt plugs, dildos, vibrators, rope, beads. I got it all in there. And whenever I want to get off, we call up Amy and we go, all right, call up Uncle Sam. I mean, we don't always get the uncle, but we get somebody. They come over here. It's all part of unemployment. Just get on it.
Remember in C-Lab when he brings the captain his beads and he goes, where were they? And he goes, right where you left them.
It's a good joke.
It's a good joke.
Oh.
So we're talking today about Fast 6. We're in this incredible part of the series at this point where, and none of what I'm about to say is an actual criticism. They're just observations. This is the stupidest movie ever made. It is batshit. None of it makes sense. Everyone's course of action, except for maybe a couple people, is completely inexplicable. Physics are defied in almost every scene to varying degrees of credulity, straining madness. And I fucking loved this movie. I really enjoyed watching it, and I would watch it again. I let those 2 hours just shoot right by.
Yeah, I think the idea of family is in full swing.
No, they have like quadrupled down on family in this one.
This is where this isn't not a coincidence that it is coming also with them becoming superheroes, them like The Rock teaming up. This is like what it feels like this series wanted to do from the beginning. And it's like, it's fascinating to see the smaller budget youngsters figuring out how to make movies to this. And this is the beautiful culmination of everything that they wanted to do.
Well, you may remember, Tej explains to Hobbs the virtue of building one's own car, not just reading the brochure, which is a great, by the way, if you want to fit in with the car people, accuse someone with rudimentary car knowledge of being a brochure reader, which I think happens in 3, right? Sean tells off the guy from Home Improvement. He's like, you read the brochure? I'm from fucking Alabama. Roll Tide, bitches.
Dude, it's not the driver. It's not the car. It's the driver.
You're my classmate. I'm in love with you. We are going to get married.
We both have jar heads.
Yay.
What a fucking disappointment that this movie ends back in Tokyo with that little end credit sequence.
Hold on.
They didn't even give us a little Sean.
I mean, it's not, no, it's fine that we didn't get Sean. That's hysterical.
Shut the fuck up. They didn't even give us a little Sean, like a little tease of what we lost.
After Tokyo Drift, we were just like, what happened to Sean, though? Sean was great.
Oh, I think he comes back.
I'm Sean. My daddy's in the Navy. No, the callback to 3 in this is fucking incredible.
We can't talk about that yet.
We can't talk about it yet.
I don't think so.
Okay, so this movie is wild bullshit and so good. It's really like I feel like a little high off of it because new bad guy, it's Shaw. Shaw's Luke Evans. Shaw has Bizarro evil team who honestly get kind of short shrift in this. I liked that idea of the Bizarro team.
Yeah.
And we didn't really get quite enough of it, I loved this. I really enjoyed this movie. So this is a limited criticism, but I liked that idea of like, we have this great scene where Dom and Shaw face off and Shaw's like, look, you're all about family and loyalty, but that's not efficient. Loyalty means nothing to me. I want the best team. And this goes back to a long-running dialogue we've had about this series, the team versus family dynamic. And they were smart enough here to really put a finger on it, where Shaw's like, I'm also an international super criminal, but for me, it's just about efficacy. It's about this fluid machine motion.
Mm-hmm.
And he laughs in the face of Dom's more human family-based structure, where you do give up the big score. You do give up your big win if it means keeping the family together.
Yeah, you sent me a text during that scene that said, you are Shaw, I am Dom.
It's true. Well, I'm a hulking, muscle-bound, sensitive man who's bound by my code of honor.
Yeah, you hit people with your forehead.
You're a little shrimpy guy who's like cool, but like not the kind of cool that you want to like be on his team.
I feel like I'd make a better team.
You think you'd do better than Shaw's Bizarro Squad?
No. But whatever you would get together. I mean, you get some cool. You'd get your cool noise friends together, and you guys have a fucking great time.
Oh, that'd be a terrible team.
But
my
team
I love my friends, but I'm not sure what we could heist.
You and Eric, that'd be so cute. Just like, I don't know what you would do. You just walk around Pittsfield
and heist something. I don't know.
I guess. I don't even know if that would happen.
I mean, plenty of our convenience stores have been robbed so frequently that I could just jump in on that. Apparently anyone can do it.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Like, is this a new thing or has that always been happening?
No, it's like a long running thing. There's like particular convenience stores that are just like known in Pittsfield for getting rolled over, and that's just part of life.
That's too bad.
There's like the Citgo station on Wacona Street. There's the Quick Stop on East Hoosey. Yeah, it's West Hoosey.
I'm glad. God, I wouldn't imagine it was on East Hoosey.
Do you want me to get more into? I can spend a few more minutes.
Do they have the height thing so they know how tall the robbers are?
I think a lot of weight gets put on that system, and it better work because it doesn't look good.
How? Maybe you just train yourself. It happens so frequently, and just like every time you get like punched in the face and threatened, and you have to give up all your money, you just like immediately, like a Pavlovian dog, stare at the jam and wait for the guy to leave, and then clock that height.
I just think that if we have facial recognition technology and our phones are communicating marketing information just by speaking near them to various like shadowy enterprises, why can't we get the technology to figure out how tall a person is?
They do. It's called the sticker that you put next to your door.
Oh, there we go.
That's the tech. It's Tej. I mean, if you think you're Tej-like, you should know that's the tech.
I have great respect for Tej. I like how Tej, when he goes into their new command center, he's like, finally, some good shit.
Yeah.
Not that crap in Rio. And I'm like, bro, you fucking like did oil changes like 2 movies ago. Like, now he's like, thank God, finally, the highest echelon of international global security is finally some bullshit I can maybe it's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, I think this is a nice little moment to focus our discussion, because I think we've talked whether you want to call it a team or a family.
It's definitely a family.
All right, shut up.
That's the movie says.
I'm not forcing anyone to...
Yeah, you're not doing anything.
I know. Yeah. This is... like the last movie set up everyone except for Letty to be a part of the team. And this is a chronicle of this group. And I think like sort of looking at the different, like we're getting different micro units of people. We're getting friendships. We're getting lovers. We're getting families built, small families, part of the big family. I just sort of want to focus on maybe Roman Tej, Han Giselle, the Brian Toretto, Dom Mia thing. I think that, I don't know, I'm sort of interested in the way they're partnering up and splitting off into small factions.
I mean, it sounds kind of boring, but sure.
Cool. Let's do it.
I want to talk about how Hobbs walks in. At the end of the last movie, Hobbs is like, I'm going to give you 24 hours, then I'm going to fucking find you.
I know.
This movie, first 30 seconds. Well, got to get Dom Toretto and forgive him for everything he's ever done.
So that's sort
first
of
thing I got to do.
So I'm sort of noticing that this movie, the last Fast Five, was so good because it sort of maintained a heartbreak and emotionality that this movie just sort of Photoshop glosses right over. And they try, but like there's so much more they could have done that could have been so much more beautiful.
Well, I see it as a pendulum swinging where, like, in 3, the action, the racing is fucking incredible. The design, the direction, and again, I mentioned this via text while we were watching. Not only do they replicate the shot of the cars drifting through a major public square in London from 3, we actually see the shot from 3 again during the mid-credit, which, I'm sure we're not the only people to recognize how incredibly effective that shot is from Tokyo Drift. But I love that it gets double dipping in this movie.
Well, and Dom even mentions it. He's like, "We're back," or whatever he says. He calls it out. Like, we know what we're doing, and we hope that you appreciate it.
Right. So in 3, like visually speaking and action wise, it hits a certain apex. Then in 4, all of the things that we liked the most about 4 were the moody, plot driven things of O'Connor and Mia and Dom facing the fallout of 1. And that worked way better than the action or the plot in that movie, which was very forgettable.
Yeah.
Then in 5, you have like the perfect synthesis of everything, where it's emotionally grounded. The action actually has a weight to it that's not just complete ejaculatory madness. And then this one, they like quadruple down on that shit that rules. But I agree with you. The plot and the emotionality becomes so genuinely perplexing that it's kind of a problem. But and nothing sums this movie up better than at the end of the movie, a plane the size of like 8 Bostons explodes, and it's the biggest explosion ever. It's like 9 Chernobyls, and they're like, "No, Dom is dead," and they're just like staring at the wreckage of the largest explosion to ever happen in the universe. And Vin just, with zero explanation, strides out with the fucking bounty, the chip, which I have no idea what the chip does, in hand. And like that to me was like this movie summed up, where it's like the emotional stakes in a way have never felt lower because it's so confident at this point.
Yeah.
So like it's weird. Like in a way, like we know this family rocks, and they have any excuse to get it back together, and we just get 3 of the best action sequences I've maybe ever seen in movies.
Yeah.
But around it is a lot of very underwhelming stuff.
Well, I think, and the problem is they have a setup that could have worked. Like, you start off the movie and you have Dom, and I don't even remember her name, the cop from the last one the
Brazilian cop with the dead cop husband who's like, "I understand your pain, Dom."
Yeah, and they like fall in love, but it's like a love based on sadness, and it's really interesting. And then Letty comes back, and like, it's also easy. It's sort of like how you mentioned earlier, like The Rock in the last movie was like, "I'm going to fucking find you. I'm giving you this 24-hour pass, but you're mine." And then in this movie, they're like, "Well, never mind. We just want them to be friends." They just sort of like have these emotional arcs, which are really intense, like Letty losing her memory and having to relearn who she is and who Dom is. None of these things were actually done to create a feeling of emotion. It was just like a random excuse to have shit happen.
Well, I mean, this whole movie feels like a random excuse to have shit happen, because you're right. They just got to bring Letty back into the fold. So a lot of the other things, like Giselle dying, though, of course, maybe, asterisks, we don't know in these movies anymore. Like, Giselle and Han never really get to a boiling point, I feel like. Like, they're like, "We're going to go to Tokyo. Yeah, I guess we will." Like, that bullshit.
Right, they've done that now 3 times. That's the 3rd movie where, like, 3 he dies, and then 4, 5, and 6, they all are like, "Han will die. Don't worry. We're going to get..." And, like, that's supposed to be the sad thing. But, like, it's happened 3 times now. We're just like, it's losing its edge.
Yeah, and it's a bummer. And I will say that just while we're on the Giselle topic, there's a great meta moment. And this, it shows how much I like these movies, because sometimes the stuff is super annoying. But like when they're like, okay, we're standing on an overpass staring at one of Shaw's guys. We're just like right above him, talking about him, looking at him. What are we going to do? Which is great. I love that shit. And they're like, we can do this. And then Gal Gadot's like, but he is a man, and you don't send a girl to do a man to do a woman's job. Like, just like the last one. And Han's like, she says that shit like all the time.
Yeah, she must. It must
Yeah,
be.
and it's like, Gal, some men are attracted to other men, or not women, or not
anything. And also, if that's the play, then write a scene where she like, I don't know, fucks him or does something, rather than just like talk to him and then beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, and then her and Haywire go over there to be like, the girls got it, boys, and then like they just torture him. Which, by the way, this movie, we often talk about like what in these movies that we watch are like fascist cop fetishism. I would say the Hobbs scene where he just like fucking tools up British fake dom for like no reason.
Yeah,
like and they just like make a like light of it the entire time, where it's like he's a cop torturing someone, and this is a movie about like that note did not. I know it's like probably contractually required to give The Rock a scene like that,
probably,
but like I hated that. I didn't like that at
that
all.
Sucked. I got your text and I was already halfway through texting you the same thing, and it's just, it only works for me because it's so much fun watching The Rock throw a man. I'm just like, yeah, I get it. It's just like pure fascism, and we're supposed to just believe that. Like, they even talk about it. He's like, that isn't legal, is it? And she's like, well, you want to stop him? It's like, fuck, he's going to just beat up everyone in his way. And like, I guess it could be something if they were talking about police brutality, but they're not. They're not doing anything. They're just doing a bunch of bullshit.
And then there's that oddly prescient scene where The Rock makes an elaborate argument as to like, you know, we shouldn't stop the economy just because there's a particularly bad strain of the flu going around. You want to cripple the greatest economy in the world just to save a few hundred lives?
Yeah.
And it's weird. It seems out of context in the movie, but from this vantage point, it's like, wow, he's got a good point.
It has his points. I think don't question him. And that's sort of I learned. That's like the biggest takeaway from this movie is don't question The Rock.
And yet The Rock does one of the worst notes of the movie that is genuinely baffling. So late in the movie, again, the actual plot of this is genuinely stupid and not even really worth paying attention to. This Shaw guy just sort of this like omnipotent super mastermind who can do anything. So I don't know. It's like there's something about like overblowing your villain in this way that's super annoying. Cause like I like that in Fast Five. It's like, I'm a corrupt drug dealer, politician guy, and I bribe the cops. I just suck. I'm just like a piece of shit suit. Like, fuck me.
Yes.
And so in this movie, having the like flashy, debonair, techno master criminal who just wants to be all powerful was kind of boring. But anyways, there's a thing where he's like, I'll give you the thing you want. You can save all these lives, or, you know, I'll give you Letty back and I'm going to escape. And then Hobbs just goes, and then the British guy is like, no, we can't do that. That's fucking stupid. Are you kidding me? Like the random British like army stooge in the movie.
Yeah.
He's like, no, we that's a terrible thing to do. That doesn't make any sense.
Especially when the plan is to let him escape to then capture him again.
Yeah, it just sets up the coolest action scene of all time, which we'll get to, which I'm fine with. But I'm saying, but Hobbs just like inexplicably sides with the family on this one. And I thought it was like another missed opportunity, kind of like at the beginning when I was saying when we were watching, Hobbs giving resistance to this is what gives a lot of grit and resonance to their relationship. And in this movie, he's weirdly easy breezy about all of their ideas, even the truly terrible ones.
It's like, I think for me, I don't think I really like this movie as much as you did, because I like Fast Five is so great because the plot is important. And I'm watching this movie and it's like the action scenes are incredible and super fun. But when you are literally just watching action scenes, I just start like the tank shit. None of it has the climax. None of it has like the punch of having characters doing something. It all just ends up seeing like just machines flying around.
I don't know. I fucking loved the tank scene and I loved the airplane scene. I thought those were incredibly delightful.
They're good scenes, but I feel like they're just like missing something. They're missing like an end.
I hear what you're saying.
I don't feel like whatever happens next is going to be important.
Right. And again, I'm going to go back to double down on the blaming the villain situation, where I think Luke Evans does a very good job as Shaw.
Sure.
But it's like a little thankless because he just seems like so slick. Like, I don't know, there's something like having like a human, like the fact in Fast 1 we have like, you know, this young gangster kid is trying to prove himself to his family who thinks he's a joke. Or, in Fast 2, it's like the fucking grossest Miami coke dealer. And I will always love battling a drug dealer plots. Those are always satisfying. That's why, 4 is kind of a mess. That's why 5 works so well. And in 3, we have, again, like people inflated testosterone-driven bravado yielding murderous plots for no reason. And in this one, I don't know. Like now that everything's so elevated, only the action really, and some of the quips really fly. And I think that's a bummer.
This is what I found really interesting about the ending of this movie was that everyone is back except for Giselle, but she was like a very late entry and her loss is not super important. And I guess Han too, so that whole unit's gone.
Well, Giselle is poorly written the entire time.
She was barely a character. It's fine. She was a fine addition. I liked having her in the team because she brought some really cool energy and she was a good entry, but her loss is not like I'm losing someone from the family in the same way that other people are. But it's weird, like Letty's back. We thought she was dead. She's back. And like the ending of this movie is such a setup to be like, the whole family's here. And it's going to be so fucking weird. I know we shouldn't talk about the 7th one, but it's like just that feeling of like knowing that the family is about to lose actual Paul Walker.
In a classic Charles manner, you buried the lead there pretty hard. But yeah, like this is the last full Paul Walker performance we're going to get.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't really know what that means, but
I'm saying what you were just saying was that Paul Walker dies while making the 7th movie.
Yeah, but like it. The whole setup of this movie basically is, we can breathe easy because everyone's back. And then 7's like, it's not even that like they now have to write a movie that seems in opposition to the direction they were going.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to deal with... I mean, I remember how they deal with it in 8 when they truly have zero Paul Walker. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
I don't want to really talk about that, but it's like...
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of bizarre to see this whole family reunite, especially in a way that doesn't feel earned, and then like know that it slips away so quickly. Like this is it. This is the last moment maybe where the family feels connected. But we'll see.
I hear you. I mean, this is such a sweaty premise where they're like, well... got to get the gang back together. I understand that when you make these movies, you're making it for the rich, meaty, 15-minute long car chase sequences. But I could have stood to see more of that coming together part. I don't like how Hobbs is so quick to be like, well, got to get my old enemies back. I don't like everyone's like, oh, here we are. We're back. Like, it kind of made it feel a bit more like, there's that great bit in MacGruber, one of the greatest films ever made, where, he gets the team back together and like, it's just like horrifically convenient. All of it's just like, well, you crazy son of a bitch. Guess it's time to get the old camo back on or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what they're just like, finally, we're back together after our final heist ever in 5, which was the biggest, craziest thing we've ever done.
Right.
So it's full shark jumped in this, but I don't know. I think the action scenes are getting so operatic and insane that I'm like fine with that.
Yeah. And that's what we're getting. And I think there's a really good movie in here. That's, I think, why this one is the most potentially disappointing for me, where it like, we are Jump Shark, we're our superhero movie now. But like seeing what they could have done, like you have some really good stuff. Like the team, I feel like having The Rock, he was my MVP last week. And I feel like he shouldn't have been in this movie. He
feels like he got very little, and again, the logical points of friction that would have made for more interesting dialogue were dispensed with to grease the slide, which I think is a huge mistake.
And here's the thing is, so where is that grit coming from? Oh, it's coming from the Bizarro team, if you've dubbed them. I think it's a good dubbing.
Thank you.
But the problem is now you're splitting the grit. You have a smooth, frictionless grit from The Rock, and then you have a grit so like thinly spread over I don't even know what you're spreading grit on. What would you spread like a
Rivita?
Yeah, or maybe like a sandpaper that's like.
Oh, so you're now making sand. You're talking about the commercial production and manufacturing of sandpaper.
Yeah. So
this is a good fucking podcast.
Yeah. So you have that group, which is supposed to be a nice like fine sandpaper, but you're getting one of those like weak ones that you use on wood.
They call it bodega sandpaper.
But anyway, so like there's like that woman who drives the other flipper car, which fucking rules. We got to talk about that car.
Oh, the flipper cars are fucking amazing.
But she's in the movie for 2 scenes, and like they even have like a scene where she drives by in slow motion, so Paul Walker can see her face.
And she winks at him.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then she doesn't show up for the rest of the fucking movie.
Okay, something that we do monitor while doing these series is like what is the bloat like on these movies? And just in the last movie, the first four, I think, the first four are all like 90 minutes, right? Basically,
yeah,
give or take.
There are maybe hundreds, but
okay. Because 5, we break too easy. We get to like 210, 211. This one again, 210, 211. They're really formulaic movies. And I think that is the biggest thing here, where I would watch a 3-hour cut of this because I'm an insane person. Because I think with all the things that we're talking about, they had to dispense with to get these bigger and bigger set pieces in.
Yeah, it's a shame. And it's like sort of distracting and sort of... I don't know, it's still fun. It's definitely still fun, and like if you're comparing it to other like Marvel movies, or now where like you can actually compare it to a superhero franchise, because like Vin Diesel's literally flying around with purpose in the air as though he can control his vector.
Can we hold on, talk about the physics of this movie?
Yeah, let's talk about those physics.
I'm used to, in these movies, people being like, take the wheel while driving 120 miles an hour and fighting someone or whatever, like it's a normal thing people do. That happens a lot in this movie. There's so much jumping in and out of things.
Yes.
Where, like, it's one of the many times someone takes the wheel for someone, The Rock jumps out of a moving car down onto another moving car in a way that, though I have never taken physics, I am certain it's not possible. Like, not even close to possible. Like, you don't have the density of a fucking meteorite to travel forward through space.
But The Rock does.
I guess so.
But I think the way they shoot it, like, and CGI it looks like it's convincing. That's like the weird shit, is that I believe that in the same way that I would believe like Doctor Strange floating around, or like Captain Marvel.
It's the wire work they do in some of these things, where there's one time, I don't know if you caught this, in one of the many very well choreographed, delightful fight scenes on the plane, I think it's either The Rock or Vin does one of the flying punches from a Marvel movie, where like his entire body flies forward behind a punch. But like obviously they're not shooting it like this is a superhuman from space doing this. It's just like some guy in a room just like hurtles forward out of nowhere to deliver the most brutal punch of all time.
It's so close to working because they're doing things that are ridiculous, but they're doing it in a way that is, first of all, a brilliant idea. Like, who doesn't want to punch when you see someone punch someone with their entire body?
Yeah.
But they're also wiring and CGIing in a way that it doesn't look silly or fake. It actually is like, I know no one could actually do this, but if someone were able to, it would look just like this.
Well, and that's part of what this franchise experience is. They've successfully warped and blurred the edges of this vision to the point where you're like, yeah, fine, whatever. With there's a few scorch marks on his undershirt while he walks out of like a fire that makes the Hindenburg look like a match.
You didn't even mention that before the plane, while the plane is exploding, he drives through the entire plane out the front of it.
It's hard to separate out these images in your head after one of these movies where it's like, because the tank erupts out of the truck on the free, and like just all these images are just like so crazy. I want to talk about the part where Roman crawls out of a car that's being crushed to fling himself onto the hood of Dom's car. All this is just amazing.
Yeah, that was
like,
a great scene.
They go so casually from like Paul Walker and Tyrese being like, yeah, we used to bang together back in Bakersfield, a couple of young thugs just trying to have a laugh. And now it's like, okay, I'm going to attach the grappling hook to the tank, and then if you drive around it, I'll swing from I'll swing off the edge of the tank onto your car, and then we can do a 360.
You know what they get back? You just reminded me.
What's that?
Get back a harpoon gun.
We do get, and they lean on the harpoon gun for a lot of visual bits in this.
Yeah, but now it's NOS powered. Like everything in their life.
The thing is, like, again, in 5, like, because we want Paul and Mia to raise that kid. We want everyone to be okay in 5, and this is so superfluous and so like it's. I really enjoyed it though. Like that's why I'm so torn here, because it's obviously like so unnecessary, like so unbelievably unnecessary. But I really like when it was full foaming at the mouth psycho. I loved watching it.
Well, I'm just going to slightly disagree with you. We've sort of talked about this in other ways already, but I don't think this is unnecessary. I think that's the problem, is that it is vital to the franchise, but they do it in a way that is batshit the entire time, so it makes it feel unnecessary.
I feel like we're like revisionist historians looking at like a communist dictator being like, he had to crush the peasants if he was going to rebuild the economy or something.
Yeah.
Where it's like the mission is so sacrosanct that who cares a few thousand die along the way?
Look, Letty had to come back.
I would let 1,000 random motorists die. This movie does a really weird thing. It's kind of like Speed Racer, where some cars that get pulverized, we see the driver get out and they're like, okay, they're okay. So
Right.
whatever happens to this car, it's not tinged with the horror of knowing that the person's about to die one of the worst deaths imaginable. But many other cars, we are led to believe that the drivers are being ground into like particles by a tank tread.
Do you think that's one of the worst?
Yes!
Yeah.
I think car accident plus ground to death, that's a crazy 1-2 punch. No thank you.
That's right. And you also have the history, the trauma.
Yes, I've been in a car accident, or many, but one big one. I'm just saying, having been in a high-speed car accident, it is very unpleasant.
Yeah, I've never had that experience. I've had other experiences that are unpleasant, but that one sounds very unnerving because it's very fast loss of control, where I've been in very slow loss of control about violence. But I think that speed it brings it to a different level.
Yeah, it's like the worst thing that ever happened to me. So I don't recommend it.
So how is it watching these movies? Because you're watching car crashes every 10 seconds.
Well, but again, we've entered this part of the world of this where I know that, Vin could drive a car into a napalm factory covered in broken glass and get out and be like, it was hot in there or something.
Yeah, or something completely incomprehensible because he is now, like, he is old. And I don't know what it is about these big muscle men with their giant necks. Maybe that's their necks, but like a Sylvester Stallone. And, he's always had some speech problems. But I just feel like older actors, their voices get lower, their voices get gravelly, and you can barely understand anything that they say anymore. And Vin Diesel's like getting to that point where he's just the king of mumbles.
Vin sounds like a grindcore vocalist in this movie. He truly sounds like he's about to like do something unhinged. Well, you raise a good point though. Like, I think about like Giselle's death in this movie is totally bloodless, for example.
Yeah.
Like Hans is really pretty fucking agonizing in 3. Like and we see it in this again, the gas dripping on him as his car goes up and like it's really upsetting. But Giselle like selflessly kills herself to save Han, ironically.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. Like she just vanishes into the dark, basically.
Well, see, and this is sort of where the franchise effect starts to come into play, where you're like, they already wrote Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift where Han is a loner, basically an asexual loner.
He could be fucking, we don't know.
We don't see him fuck.
Honestly, if I had one note about Tokyo Drift besides best casting ever, it would be we got to see Han fuck.
I think he vibes asexual. It might be they're trying to be like retroactively being like, oh, Giselle wasn't with him in Tokyo, so she has to die before he goes to Tokyo. Because fans are like, well, in 3, Giselle wasn't with him, so why not? And they're like, all right, guys, this is why, because she saves his life.
Well, under the quill-bearing Chris Morgan, who scratches down each installment, likely on a sheet of parchment paper in a cave with a lit candle.
It's probably on a bill that he unrolled after snorting that line.
He does seem pretty like Shane Black style, coked out, like 90s Shane Black, like full psycho. Because these movies are like, the writing is perpetually bad. Though Vin has that one great line. I texted it to you. What was it?
I don't know. My phone is in the same reason why you can't use your phone.
I'm using my phone right now.
Oh, what are you using to look at me?
My fucking computer.
Ah.
Oh, that's okay. No. Because the crime happens in Moscow. I remember this. I didn't even find it on the phone. I'm so fucking smart. My brain's working so good.
Guys, he showed me the phone. He put the phone up to my phone screen, and it was a different text, and he's using that to prove that he thought of this on his own.
I'm not doing that. Jesus.
He thought
Why
of
you
this
gotta
on his
malign me,
own.
bro? Why you gotta malign me? When Hobbs is getting Dom to come back to the job, he's like, a military convoy is hijacked in Moscow. And Vin goes, I don't do cold places.
Yeah. Great line.
That's like the best thing Chris Morgan's ever written, other than every Roman line, because Roman fucking rules.
Maybe I got cokeheads on the brain, but do you think like a washed up cokehead moves to Nos? I feel like Nos. Have you done Nos?
I've never. No, Nos the drink is just so brutal to look at that I can't step to it. And they're all like, I like hide behind the fragile veil of like Red Bull, at least not looking like it's hard to step to Monster for me because Monster just like looks like
X Games. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not that guy. you know?
No, you're not.
There's an energy drink called Guru that's like a natural energy drink.
How is it spelled?
Geureux. Guru. No, Guru, like Guru.
Okay,
Guru.
I wasn't sure if it was Goo.
Took me a couple passes there to spell Guru.
It sure did. It's all right. Don't worry about it.
I'll get on the next one. That one, I drank one of those and felt psycho.
Shit.
Did I ever tell you the first time I ever drank cold brew?
Cold brew? No.
This is 2014. I'm on tour with my band. I was vegan at the time, and this was a day on tour where that day we ate hot dogs twice and Taco Bell. That was what our meal was that day.
Wait, you were vegan at the time, but you ate hot dogs?
Vegan hot dogs, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We went to, I was in Cleveland, Ohio, long before I would attempt to build a life there. This is 2014. We went to this place called Gypsy Coffee on Detroit, and we got what we thought was iced coffee.
Can you say that?
I don't know. I think they asked, I thought I was getting iced coffee.
Oh, no. Can you say gyps? I don't really want to say it. Is that like a word you can say?
For all I know, it's owned by a Romani family who are having a fun go at reappropriating a term like that. Look, I didn't name the coffee shop, and I'm not going to be a historical revisionist who stands here and says, I get to make the decisions. I don't.
All right.
Anyways, we got this cold coffee, being like, oh, some nice iced coffee. And then proceeded to have full panic attacks.
Jesus.
Because I had no idea what I was getting into. It was a profound chemical experience.
Wow. I make cold brew in my kitchen.
Well, now we all of us drink the cold brew. It's legally required.
Okay, but you're used to it now.
I built up a bit of a tolerance to me.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I will say I struggle with caffeine, but especially during these incredibly stressful times where I'm losing my mind every day, caffeine and marijuana have become my little friends.
Oh, that's cute. Like chodes.
Right, my little chode friends. We've been friends for a long time, but now, regulating that balance is a good way to get through the week without being just a completely empty shell, like a husk at the end.
I hate it when you're a husk.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, you're a full flower.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me.
Yeah, you're the seeds, you're the...
Stamen?
Yeah, the sex parts, you're petals.
The pistil?
Yeah, both those things. But you're also leaves cool. And petals and... whatever, stems, fruits.
Wow, I wasn't fishing for this elaborate flower comparison, but I'm really happy we've gotten here.
Yeah, I'm just imagining, you're like one of those flowers, you got little arms with a cane, and your head's right in the middle of the pollen area. Got a little top
and you,
hat.
my friend, are much as the daffodil.
Ah.
You've got a little je ne sais quoi about you.
Sure, just like the daffodil. Yeah, it's a
much
good
as
point.
the daffodil. We're speaking here in springtime, and I don't want to date the podcast, but it is
springtime
for Goyim.
Oh,
it's Easter.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Or as I call it, shitty or Passover, and I don't like Passover that much.
Yeah, they don't. I don't know which one's Passover.
We don't eat leavened bread for 8 days. We tell the story of fake slavery that didn't happen.
Yeah, sounds like a real hoot.
Well, the food's pretty good.
Yeah, the Easter, that's the thing. The food sucks for us. It's just chocolate.
And ham, right? Or sweet ham or some horrible sounding bullshit.
Yeah, it's ham and chocolate. And you make a ham and chocolate sandwich the next day for leftovers.
That sounds very European.
Yeah, European, not good. Really bad.
Yeah, in this movie, everyone from England's a fucking dumb piece of shit,
yeah.
Which is sick. England fucking sucks. Fuck all these people.
So, I want to talk about the flippy cars, because that's the first moment where I was like, okay, I can deal with this for another hour and a half.
You literally have to just keep doing a +1 at this point. And I remember by the time we get to 8, shit is so absolutely psychotic. And I'm not going to give away anything from 8 if you haven't seen it. But the plot points in 8 are in pure insanity. So the fact that in this one they're like, okay, we've got a new kind of car. That seems kind of cute compared to what's coming,
nothing's been flying yet except for people. Cars have yet to fly. And I remember that's been hinted at earlier, but they've all been sort of crash landings.
And 2, they do land on that fucking yacht and it's baller as fuck.
That's a crash landing.
That's true.
But yeah, I know we're prepping for more. Speaking of prepping, we got some news. I've been going to the Wikipedia page for the Fast Saga a lot.
I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all the news.
Oh, okay. Great. Anyway, so the weather.
There isn't any weather. There isn't any sports.
Wow, no weather.
The films has always been, the list of films, which I've been looking at this film sort of like we just watched National Treasure last night as a group with people online. We were chatting.
The Declaration. The Declaration. The Declaration.
I'm going to make one of those for this show.
There already is one for sure.
I know, but I can add it to my little repertoire.
I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
I'm sort of looking at these list of titles with more of a Nick Cage treasure hunter genius puzzle solver, and we're gonna talk about that for just a second. But more importantly, section 2.1 is films, and there's always been the 10. There's been F9, and then a 10th one coming out. Spin-offs was previously, up until the last time I saw it, just Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, an untitled female-led film. As of March of 2020. The Rock has announced that there is now an untitled Hobbs and Shaw sequel in the works.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I can sleep again. I've actually still haven't seen Hobbs and Shaw once.
Have we talked about that? The COVID interrupt?
I don't. That's right. We haven't directly addressed this, I don't think, on mic. We alluded to it in my little pre-recorded thing a few weeks ago. But yeah, Fast 9 has been postponed for the people because Vin doesn't want his hands soaked in the blood of Fast Nation dying of a horrible respiratory illness. We are waiting on Fast 9.
If they released Fast 9 in theaters, even if like everything else was shut down, if they put that out there, people would go.
I would definitely shoot a cop and risk infection to see Fast 9.
Yes.
Are you kidding me? That's all we have left.
God, so I get it. They're taking it out, but it's so beautiful that they're announcing this new... God, we're going to be doing this until we're dead.
Yeah, probably, which, again, should be within a few months.
Fuck.
It'll take a lot of the pressure off finishing the longer series when we are just in an overflowing morgue somewhere.
So anyway, this is the point of this is that we had originally decided to not do Hobbs and Shaw because we're like, it's a spinoff. Does it really count as a part of the franchise? But then you slapped me across the face and you said, no.
I said, listen up, Chode.
We're going to fucking do this right. Like we did Shrek with Puss in Boots. Like we did something else.
And not a day goes by that I'm not thrilled that I saw Puss in Boots, a movie that I definitely remember more than one thing about.
Like The Love Guru. Man, maybe this isn't a good idea.
We peaked early because I think that was an actual good thing we did for humanity, was to take that bullet.
But anyway, so we're now, week 9 is going to be the Hobbs and Shaw. And then whenever next year, I guess they have a date, but who knows? Until we get a vaccine, we might just never be able to see a movie in theaters ever again. And release dates are just going to keep getting pushed out forever, or they're going to eventually have to just release them.
Did you buy Trolls World Tour? It came out, I think, this weekend. Did you buy it yet?
No, you can just torrent that shit.
No, you got to support the movies, man. Come on.
You got to support the billionaires in Hollywood?
Yeah, come on, man. They got to eat too. Here's what I don't get: this discrimination against the rich. The rich are like any other people. Okay,
are they? Okay.
If let's say the rich were all one race, okay, wouldn't we call it racist if you said the rich were bad?
Fuck, you got me there.
Think about it like that.
Fuck, I don't want to think about it like.
I think Martin Luther King said, "Rich people, you know what? They're people too, man. Just be chill about it."
That's true. And then it's Easter. Jesus Christ, historically and accurately said, "The rich man is my friend."
Wink. Here's the thing about Easter. I've read that little story in the not very good sequel to the Bible, and they went to go find his corpse, which is fucking suspicious as fuck, anyways, and they couldn't find it. And they're like, "Oh, he's resurrected." So the story is they tried to find his dead ass, and he was just not there. And they're like, "Oh, he got born again."
Josh, it's a little disrespectful.
I'm just saying, there's a bit of a jump there. There's a bit of a jump there
for you to call the greatest story ever told a shitty sequel to the Bible or whatever the fuck you said.
I suggested that. Yeah,
it's the greatest story ever told. Have you read it?
Honestly, no. I've read some of the Book of John or the Book of Revelations because it's fun.
It's the fun one.
Like fucking locust gonna boil up from your dick hole, stuff like that.
Oh shit!
I know, but I'm just saying it's a bit of a jump to be like, oh, we can't find a corpse. To like, oh, he's reborn.
Thing is a bit of a jump. It's a bit of a jump to be like, oh, this woman never had sex and she's pregnant. Maybe she had sex.
Honestly, I don't want to Occam's razor my way out of everything fun and literary, but sometimes someone's pregnant because they had sex, and that's just that.
But yeah, no, maybe someone stole the body and fucked it. I
was going to go there. I was going to. Oh, was going to make necrophilia jokes about Jesus
And you were
on
going to
Easter,
do it better.
and you took it from
I'm
me.
sorry.
That's fine. You took your shot. I admire that, I guess. I feel a little let down.
Who do you think would have done that?
It's a fucking absolute baller.
Do you think Vin Diesel fucking makes a time machine and
I
fast?
fuck corpses for fun.
Why do you come to Nazareth? The people.
What brings
the food,
everyone to Nazareth?
to fuck
Corpse fucking.
Jesus' corpse.
Oh
I
boy.
can't wait. Was that 8?
That's in 8. That's the best dialogue. I actually did that whole scene for someone today on the phone. I'm so excited about getting to Fast 8. We have to play that sample in the episode when we get to that. That's the highlight of the entire
so. Maybe that
arc for
is
me.
the whole episode. We'll find out. We'll play with
What
that.
brings
idea.
everybody to Havana? It's so good. Okay, so
Wait, before we move on, I have this page up.
oh wow, God, let's not waste the page.
Can you get to the Fast and the Furious franchise Wikipedia page? I want to look this over with you.
Okay, why?
I'm Nicolas Cage. You can choose. You want to be John Voight, my father? You want to be who's the guy who plays his friend?
The shitty annoying guy?
Yeah, that guy.
I'll be him.
Okay, also the misogynist, shitty, annoying guy.
Just the piece of shit, and you're Nick Cage. Cool. This is good.
So we have the Fast and the Furious, and then it jumps to Too Fast, Too Furious. The first time we've seen a numeral in there. Then we go back to the Fast and the Furious. So we have a little bit of 1-3 relationship. It says Tokyo Drift.
I'm with you.
And then we have Fast and Furious, which is, we don't have the number anymore, but it's, other than that, almost identical to 2. So now we're going 1-3, 2-4.
Well, so far what you're saying is that regardless of numerals and ampersands, we're keeping the 2 words Fast and Furious.
Yes. And then, but in ways that the first and third have the words the and the, where second and fourth omit the articles.
Sure. Who needs them?
This is where the puzzle gets interesting, and I could use a little help from Ben Franklin's glasses. I could use a little help from a squirt of lemon and a blow dryer.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
When he fucking blows on the Declaration of Independence.
Those movies rule. The second they make a third one, we're doing it.
Absolutely.
The second it happens. I fucking love those movies.
So here's where it gets interesting. Fast 5. We could say this is maybe the beginning of a new half of the franchise. So it deserves a new beginning to the titling sequence. So Fast 5. The title for Furious 6 was supposed to be Furious 6.
And that would make a nice sort of like, mirrored effect there. Fast 5, Furious 6.
But then they decide to go Furious 7. So what the fuck? See, this is where I think you're right. I think this is an old man in charge of a large team of people where the coherence to, like, we have figured out there is a relationship in the first 4 or 5, but it's starting to break down.
I think it's like a Joe Biden campaign kind of thing where like this ancient mystic sort of mumbles non sequiturs and people have to like interpret them.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think that's why they retroactively like went back in time and changed it to Fast and Furious 6, because now that's mirroring, it's the 6th one, so it's mirroring 2 and it's mirroring 4. So we still have this even number.
You're going crazy. This is psycho.
Dude, I am Nicolas
This is
Cage.
dark.
I'm figuring this out. Too Fast,
This
Too
is
Furious.
you're Jim Carrey in the number 23. That's what you are.
So we have Too Fast, Too Furious, Fast
Playing
and
fucking chrome
Furious,
saxophone, wearing a goddamn
then
duster.
Fast and Furious 6.
Okay, Charles.
And then
It doesn't make sense. There's
So
no
that-
answer to this. This is
that
not
allows
like the
for
Bible codes.
Shut the fuck up. This allows for the jump from Fast 5 to Furious 7. So
You're
now
melting down on Mike. This
we
is hard
still
to listen
have
to.
the odd number relationship. This is an even odd.
I don't think you're okay.
Even odd. It's an
Okay,
even odd.
this is going off the rails. Are you asking when will this end?
No. No.
No, I guess not.
I'm sort of seeing where this is going, and it's still very fun. And I think they're losing. They like still have. There's so many good characters, and they're just like they're not really treating them as I want them to be treated. But it still like deserves to be finished. And this one, if I'm hoping that they're going to change up things a little bit, it does set up a beautiful next movie, where they're not like, this is our last job, and then the next one's like, how do we rope these fuckers into a new job? It's like they're settled back at home, and it opens up a world of possibility. So I'm not asking when will it end.
And I totally agree. We're going back to where it all started, that one stupid party house where all the dorkwads hung out in the Fast and the Furious. And baby, I missed a little Los Angeles, I gotta say. It's fun to globetrot. It's like on this season of The Bachelor, when they went to Cleveland, I was like delighted by that. Like that was like a rare, brilliant production move in that season.
Yeah. I'm wondering. It's like it's a reticent when not asking well, and I'm sort of noticing that the steam is leaving the ship and not. I don't know. There's no That's not a metaphor.
I think the metaphor I would go for is that like there is the momentum is building in the psycho stunts realm, but I find myself missing the emotional foundation of 4 and 5. So I need them to ground some of the delightful action back in some of that emotional resonance, which I think this one was just so psycho that is the biggest, victim of its own success. Like as the momentum gets so wild, the coherence starts to go out the window. And for 7, I'm very excited to watch 7 because I genuinely love watching these movies. I really need that to get back down to earth. And I'm hoping being back in Los Angeles, hey, that's exciting. We're back where the whole story started. Maybe that's enough of an inspiration to keep things slightly more emotionally deep.
Yeah. I think this is a nice segue into our MVP because I think it's really fascinating to see a series where the characters are actually staying very true to themselves the entire movie. Like Roman is as good in 2 as he is in this, and yet for some reason I'm still captivated by all their individual performances, but they're not adding up to the sum of their parts.
Yeah, this was, I think, a mixed bag outing, but still, God, the best parts were just so much fun to watch.
Great. Dude, we haven't talked, the Raid guy was in this, the guy from the
Raid.
Raid.
Fight, that whole foot chase scene through the London Underground was awesome.
Yes. The flipping car scene was great. The like mirroring fight where you get Roman and Han fighting the Raid guy while Haywire Lady fights Letty. And then it happens again at the end of the movie in very different circumstances and like the tables have turned. It's really brilliant story setup, very bad storytelling.
Right. Like I think the visual tricks they can tell, the way they can weave all that stuff together is like unparalleled. This is some of the best action in the entire series. But yeah. Okay, so I think we're saying the same thing here. Charles, let's cut to the chase. Who's your MVP pick for this installment of the Fast Saga? So and this is a tough one.
I've been thinking about this a lot because we sort of mentioned earlier many times that the characters are there, but it's sort of hard to feel them. So I'm trying to figure out who like really embodies the MVP. You know who I'm gonna can we issue out a slap on the wrist to the film writer, the screenwriter?
Go crazy. Wait, what, fucking Chris Morgan, the dipshit who's been doing all these?
Yeah, let's throw a chode at Chris by seriously removing Mia from the movie. What the fuck?
Yeah, that was a bummer. I loved her in I think she was my MVP pick in 5, so that's disappointing.
Yeah, and she's been strong, weird, crazy, fun, beautiful, awesome, the whole series.
Hey,
and now
all of those things are summed up in 3 simple letters: MIA. Both Mia and missing in action.
Yeah, she's gone. So that's we throw a disembodied chode at Chris Morton or whatever the fuck his name is.
A castrated chode, just like a severed chode.
Yeah.
Take that, Chris Morgan, you fucking multimillionaire.
So I'm gonna use the lack of humanity from this movie to issue out the MVP that I should have given out long ago to a little character named Roman.
I mean, Roman is the best. I love Roman.
Like he's the guy that you could give that man the shittiest line of dialogue, and whatever he's the perfect actor. He is that character.
That is Tyrese Gibson's performance in the series. You can throw anything at him and he reacts to it so humanly. It's wonderful. Especially as I think Ludacris is a little wooden as Tej at times.
Yeah. And
I think that obviously Paul Walker and Vin Diesel operate mostly in sort of like a silhouette, basically. Like they're very broad characters. But yeah, Roman really, if everyone, they even saddle him with is that a tank? Oh my God, a tank. That shit, which I don't like very much. I think it's lazy writing.
Yeah.
But he sells it. He's delightful. I'm going to double up on that. Woo-hoo. Roman is the heart of this movie. And it's not even overstated, but whenever he shows up, you're like, whatever reaction or flash of humanity I'm going to get is going to feel real. And that's very important. And again, what we're missing the most at this point.
Yeah. So he's he's stole our way into our hearts in two, and he's set up camp there ever since. And it's just a reminder of how beautifully as he works with the dog shit, he still shines through.
He's an angel. So with that said, we will say, drive on, friends, vroom vroom, and we'll find out what role Jason Statham, who we know to be a Shaw, but not the first Shaw we've met, but an eventual Shaw.
Yes.
So we have that coming our way.
And it's, I just got to say, it's an amazing bit of retconning to...
Yes.
Han's death was an accident in 3, and they're like, that was perfect for 3. We're not going to take away that moment in 3 to have like Han just die in a race, but we're also going to build on that. Like, that's the beauty of this franchise, is that you can... It's so long ago that you forget what happened, and when you rewatch it, it doesn't matter. But then they're using that moment to set up a fucking family feud in number 7.
It's beautiful. And of course, it almost brings more honor to Han, knowing he didn't die just randomly in some accident, but he was fucking murdered by some piece of shit Brit. Fuck you, England. Fuck you.